All right, welcome everyone. This is the first time we are having this wonderful story of our lives, and we have a special guest with us, Donald Hinton. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us.
No problem. Everybody need to hear it.
Absolutely. So, just to give all of you guys a background, one of the biggest fighters in life that I have seen coming to US is Donald, because when I first came to US, people told that play it safe, and once you get into the prison, your life is finished. And here we have someone who have not only came out of it, came out stronger and building his empire of real estate along with his entire journey. And would love to hear all of those nitty gritties. Man, the floor is yours, brother.
All right. Well, just a little bit about me. I grew up in a small town. A small town is outside of East St. Louis, Alton, Illinois. So I was born and raised there. Um, I was born in 1988. I'm 34 years old. So
Awesome.
I grew up in the crack era, right? Where that's what people did. They sold crack. A lot of that's what I seen in my environment, and that's just what went on. We didn't know anything else. So my dad was a victim of the drug war. He went to prison for 20 years. My grandpa was a victim of the drug war. He went to prison for 10 years, and I was a victim of the drug war. So 3 generations been in federal prison for the same exact thing. So I wasn't learning nothing. So in Alton, it's a small town. So I like to equate it with a fishbowl. If you in this fishbowl and that's all you see, then that's all you're gonna be. You can't grow bigger than a fishbowl, right? So
You
I
can't even grow to a fishbowl. You end up
yeah.
so bad.
Yeah, yeah. So I ended up being a product of my environment. So I grew up listening to the rappers, and that's the problem with people today. They listen to the rappers, and now that's why we seeing so many people killing and going to jail because of the drill music that they pumping into our heads. So I ended up a victim of them circumstances and ended up doing 8 years in federal prison for guns and drugs. So I tried to escape that lifestyle by coming to Iowa. I came to Iowa, I finished school, started going to college, but I didn't change. I just changed my environment. So if you move outside of your environment, but you don't change, you take yourself with you when you go. So
Absolutely.
I went to Iowa. It's still drugs in Iowa. It's still the same things going on in Iowa that it is in East St. Louis. It's just a different environment. I mean, a different place. So I came up here and I kept doing the same thing. So I ended up going to prison. After I went to prison, I really wanted to change. And the reason why I wanted to change is because my son came to visit me in the exact same prison that I visited my dad in,
Oh wow.
uh, Oxford, Wisconsin. And that was the day that changed my life. I, I didn't cry when they gave me that 17 years. I didn't cry any other time. But whenever he left that day, I cried. I went into my room, jumped on my bunk, and I cried like a hard cry. I ain't talking about a manly, no, not one of them hurtful cries, whenever your feelings is genuinely hurt. And I changed after that. It took that traumatic experience for me to change. So I ended up putting down all of the James Patterson books, all of the fictional books that I read, and I picked up books that can really educate me. My
That's
first book I picked up was a psychology book, like a textbook, and it was the only thing I can get my hands on. So I started reading, started educating myself, and then I came across Rich Dad Poor Dad, And
Awesome.
that book right there is the book that led me down this journey right here.
That is the book, to be honest, probably responsible for so many change of lives. That is the book. So even to sorry to chime in on I really can relate to the changes in your life. I'm someone who is not was not very much into reading books, but that one book changed my life. So help me understand, when you were into that time in your prison and you did start reading the books, how did you start? You actually said that you actually took your stuff with you, even though you tried to make a change from Illinois to Iowa. But how did you start making changes after reading those books?
Well, it's I like to tell people, like, whatever they put into their mind, that's what they thinking about. So the way that I made the changes, I stopped thinking about selling drugs. I stopped thinking about going out having good times, drinking and partying. I wasn't thinking about that type of stuff. I was thinking about investing. I was thinking about real estate. So when I got out, when I was in prison, I was a hustler by nature, right? I sold every kind of drug you can imagine. I sold it. So when I went to prison, it was still drugs, but it's different in prison. In prison is like it's its own little ecosystem. So I didn't want to keep doing the same things. I didn't want to go to jail inside jail. That's just wrong. So I opened a store, and a store is something that the inmates use to get commissary when they can't get commissary. So I would sell honey buns and I would sell chips and sodas, and I would let the inmates pay me when they got paid. So that was how I made extra money. I worked
That's
the
awesome.
job also. I worked the job as an accountant for Unicorn.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy. Like, people don't know about this stuff inside prison, but when you see old prison movies, how they making license plates and breaking
Yep.
rocks and stuff, yeah, they still putting us to work to this day. It's still slavery. They still putting us to work. But in the prison I was at, it was the central accounts for all of the prisons. So let's say this prison makes clothes for all of the inmates, all of the Navy, all of the U.S., the military branches. Prisoners do that. So they have to, keep the books, the accountant. So all of those invoices and receipts came to us, and we processed them and paid the people that needed to be paid and all of this. So I was an accountant by day, and then when I go back to my cell, I would sell honey buns and chips and things like that. So over that time, I did 8 years in prison. So 5 of those years, I was saving money. Now, you don't make a lot of money in prison, but if you save up $100 a month for 5 years, that starts to add up, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when I got out of prison, I had $10,000 saved up.
Oof.
Yeah.
Think about it for a second. You have more saved up in prison than most Americans have on their W-2 corporate job.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? That's the power of compounding.
Compounding interest. Yeah. Because I took $50 and bought a whole bunch of cookies and then just compounded it. Right. And that's what I try to teach in my book, like understanding interest, compound interest, using debt as leverage. Those are some important things to understand. And if you can grasp those ideas, you can go far in life.
That's awesome. One of the very important thing you just mentioned about business and leverage in general is most people use debt to buy TV on Black Friday, as opposed
Mhm.
to you're buying cookies to sell them for a profit. That's
Yes.
fabulous.
Yes. And when I when I grasped that concept, I was like, what? So when I got out of prison, I wanted to keep the same concept going. In prison, you don't pay rent, you don't have any expenses. So when I got out, I ended up asking my landlord for a duplex that he had. So I took the $10,000 and I bought a duplex. So now I'm still living for free. Now I'm going to my W-2 job, and it's the same thing. So that's how I expanded my portfolio so quick. It was because I used that same concept: live for free, make some money from your job, and then keep compounding it. So that's what I did. I ended up coming to a city. So I told you I came to Iowa to change, but I didn't change. So when I got out of prison, I came back to Iowa, but I went to a different city. I got dropped off in a city where I didn't know anybody. I didn't know a soul. I had $10,000 in my pocket and a dream. And the only person I knew was my landlord at the time. So I asked him if he had a building he wanted to sell, and he sold me this duplex that's on the cover of my book.
Show us the book.
Huh?
Is that a copy of your book? Can we see that?
Yeah, this is a copy of my book, From Prison to Properties.
That's awesome. Where can people find it?
You can find this book on Amazon, or if you connect with me personally, I can send you a book with a signed copy. It's $20 on Amazon, and it's all the basics. Everything that we just went over, that's all I put in the book. I didn't want to tell my story, but after a while, people started telling me how powerful it was. So that's why I'm on here telling my story. I feel like my story is just my life. It's nothing special. But coming from a different point of view, like some people will never imagine having to sell honey buns or work in a factory in prison. They don't know what life is like in prison. So that's why I come on places like this and just tell my story for the people that would never see something like that.
That's awesome, man. I really can relate your story to the Undercover Billionaire series, where they were dropped into a city.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're probably going to be the without cover billionaire in the coming years.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that show. Yeah. That was like one of the last shows I watched before I left prison. And it was like, what? How did they do this? But yeah, man, that's how I felt, man. I didn't know nobody. So I asked my landlord for the building, and he gave me that. I lived rent free. I went to my job, worked my way up in my job. I built my credit. Building my credit, it was that's one of the things I always try to encourage people to do, because you need credit to be able to leverage it. Right? If you can't borrow nothing, you can't 10x it.
Yeah.
So building my credit, I asked a friend to add me on a credit card as an authorized user. That right there boosted my credit 100 points. So
That's
I
awesome.
did. Yeah, I did that, worked my job, saved another down payment. I used my 401k to buy the second house that I own. I pulled my 401k out. It had equity in it. So I ended up getting paid to buy this house. It cost me $10,000 to fix up, but they gave me equity of $15,000. So I had nothing in that deal. So that's the power of real estate, where you can actually get paid to buy it.
That's awesome, man. So you leveraged a very unique strategy. Did you take loan against your 401k, or you took it out?
I took it out.
Oh, wow. So you essentially paid taxes and then took it out to buy it.
Yeah, I paid my taxes, and I actually I feel like it was only $5,000, but I feel like I can make more out of that $5,000 than Vanguard can.
Absolutely.
Right? That's just the way I was thinking. Like, hold up, because I didn't mention, but when I got out of prison, I was also trading options. I learned about trading stocks and options in prison also. So when I got out, Trump was in office. And when Trump was in office, the stock market was going like this. So I was making some serious money in the stock market when I first got out. It would be days I made $2,000 off 300. Take $300 and make 2,000. So it was days like that. But the reason why I steered away from the stock market is because it's volatile and it gives me anxiety. I can't make $2,000 today and lose five tomorrow. That's gonna drive me crazy. So with the real estate, it was just like more consistent. It's bigger numbers in my mind. It's bigger numbers and they long term numbers. So that's why I stuck with real estate.
Awesome. So you just said that you were dropped off on a new city out of nowhere.
Mhm.
How did you build connections there?
Oh, that's a great question, man. I stayed away from the people I knew. And I did, so what I mean by that is I didn't know nobody here, but in every city, you know who's who, right? You
Yeah,
know who the drug dealers are.
yeah,
You know who the politicians are. You know who the hobos are. You know who's who. So I stayed away from the people I knew as far as like drug dealers. I don't know any drug dealers here. I couldn't get drugs if I tried, right? Because if I knew them, I would probably ended up going back to what I knew. If I
yep.
fall on hard times right now, I I can't go get some drugs and make peace, because I don't know any drug dealers. So I made connections by meeting new people, people that don't look like me, people that don't dress like me, talk like me. Those is the people that I started building connections with because I already know what the lifestyle is like in the streets. I already been there. I done that. I never been to a 5-star restaurant and had on a suit and tie. I never did that. So those are the type of people I made connections with, build relationships with, and it's paying off. It's paying off.
That's awesome. So, what was the first thing you did after coming out of prison when they dropped off you? I know you only knew your landlord, but in terms of business activity, what did you choose to do the first thing?
The first thing was the stock market. That was the first thing I did. I did that while I was still in the halfway house. So when you get out of prison, I came to a city where I didn't know anybody. So it's called a halfway house. It's like a reentry home that you go to so you can get your job, get your ID, your social security, and get back on your feet before they release you into society. So you stay there for about 4 months. So that 4 months, you got time to get on your feet. So when I was in the halfway house, I actually started my brokerage account and started trading stocks, making $20 here, $30 here, just learning it because I studied it in prison, but um, I wanted to learn it for real. So when I got out, that was the first thing I did. I think I did that before I even got a job, because I had the 10,000, remember?
Yep.
So I
And
did. Go ahead.
you did the intermediary house that you guys were kept. Do they provide you with internet, computer, or you had to buy that as well?
All right. So that's a good question. No, they don't. You don't get, you get a TV, but I mean, like a TV room where you can hang out. But what I did was I went and bought a phone, but you can't have your cell phone in the facility. So the phone that I had was in my locker downstairs. So I would have to, I'm not like, you can imagine some people that's in prison, right? How they act like aggressive and disrespectful. Some people are like that. I was never been like that. So the staff of the halfway house, they knew me and they knew I wasn't, doing things I wasn't supposed to do. So I would simply ask, hey man, can I make a phone call real quick? I would go downstairs and I would make my trade for the day. Go back
Oh,
in.
wow.
Yeah, I would go back inside and watch it explode. So that was the first thing I did. And then I got my job and then I just started going. When I was released, I went into a 1-bedroom apartment and then I asked him if he had a duplex for sale, and he sold me this. And the thing I want to encourage everybody watching is when I first got out, I was a single father doing this. So the things you see now, I did it all while I was a single parent. So anybody can do it if you put your mind to it.
Your son was living with you just up when you were released?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, how old was he at that
My
time?
son is he was 12 at the time. He was 10 at the time. He's
Oh,
14 now.
he's
Yeah.
getting a really strong lesson in life.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can imagine living with me. Like this is I talk about he last night, 2 nights ago, we went over compounding interest and infinite return. So these is the lessons that I'm giving them. Like if I'm handing all these keys over to you, you need to know what to do with them.
Absolutely. That's what I feel like the richest teach their people.
Yeah.
So there are Rockefellers till this day, though, even though they're giving their wealth, they have millionaires. As opposed to if we see the Carnegies, of course, there are millionaires there, but they're not inherited. That's what happens if you don't teach them how to keep it and just hand over the keys.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So he got to know what to do with it. But not only that, I want him to get his own so that he know what it's like to lose. Like I gave him a job on his 14th birthday. All right. So now he got a job. He helping with the light bill. Like small things, responsibilities. He has to be responsible. So
Absolutely.
these are the things I'm teaching it. And some people might frown upon it because you make your son pay your light bill. But he's gotta when is it the right time to teach him responsibility?
Absolutely. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes that you are kid up until 17 years to 11 months is a bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you can start thinking you should be going into work. I mean, I remember where people back home where I come from, I'm from a small country called Bangladesh. People there where most of the economy is farm-based, make your children start working at your farm at the age of 8, 9, 10. So they start playing with the farm tools.
Yeah.
And the moment they're strong enough to carry stuff, boom, you're working in the farm with me. And as a matter of fact, especially when I was reading the history of the United States. All right, sorry for the technical glitch. I think we are back again. So what I was saying, when I was reading the history of the United States, people would focus on creating strong kids, strong generation. Now, unfortunately, we are the generation where people are confused to say what you are. And we are so focused on what we don't have and forget about what we actually have and end up not appreciating what we have. And I feel like that's what your story brings a lot. You focused on the things that you had. You had $10,000. Man, I need to do something with my life. This is my resource. Because I was thinking, man, if he's out of that, he shouldn't be having a phone. He shouldn't be having a laptop. So think about the aspects. I was thinking he's paying for his food, his clothing, his shelter. Now he's also going down on his equipments, business basic equipments. That's what really powerful, because when I first came, I didn't have that opportunity as well. So of course I had my laptops and stuff. I didn't know how to use that for leveraging. That's a powerful thing. And what I was thinking, in terms of when you got out of that transition home, you said you started to get into jobs. How hard was it to get into a W-2 coming out of prison with that of a background?
Oh, that's a good question, man. So for some people, it's hard. I reached out to an old cellmate. This guy, we used to work out together every day, and he was a good guy. So he told me where he'd be at when he got out of prison, and this is the city I came to. So I think I looked him up on Facebook or something like that, and I reached out to him, and he got me a job as a pool boy. So we was building swimming pools, cleaning swimming pools, and things like that. So that was the first job I got. And For some people, it's hard to get a job just because of their background and their cases and things. But for me, it wasn't too hard because some people, some that's a great question that you asked. Some employers look at your background for like the last 2 years. So if you in and out of jail for the last 2 years, then they won't hire you. And that goes the same with real estate. If your landlord look at your background and you in and out of jail, then they won't hire you. So my charge was 8 years before I got out. So that's what was good about mine. But some people, they facing those difficulties, and that's where I want to step in and try to help people.
Awesome. So anyone watching just out of prison, if they need a job to start standing up on their lives, you would be able to at least connect people to help them get the initial push in life.
That's my goal. That's what I'm working on right now. I mean, I can't, it's all coming out of my pocket, so I really don't have the resources, but that's what I'm working on. That's what I breathe and live every day. I'm trying to build my own halfway house where I can bring these people in, give them affordable homes, and teach them these basic principles that I learned when I got out of prison.
That's awesome. And one of the key things you mentioned here was you actually started making meaningful connections inside prison that you were able to come out and leverage. So in life and in business, it's not only just what you know, but also who you know and who knows you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Some of them guys I still reach out to this day. It was one of them. He was like a mentor to me. He would teach me about infinite returns and understanding compounding interest and things like that. But these guys, that it's a different system, like prison system. One is the federal system and one is the state system. I was in both of them. This is the state. This is the federal system that I was in. So in the state system, you're dealing with the people that went into a convenience store and robbed them at gunpoint. But in the federal system, you're dealing with the doctors and the lawyers that broke federal laws that got themselves in prison. So just imagine the conversations at a lunch table if I'm dealing with somebody that stuck up a liquor store versus somebody that launched the IPO on Wall Street. Those are two totally different conversations, and those is the type of conversation that I was having in federal prison.
That's awesome. That's really powerful. So even though at the darkest areas, you're saying that there's people who can give you so many leads that can shine your life in the future. I love it. So when someone is coming out fresh out of prison, what would you suggest to focus on the jobs or the fields, do you think?
Focus on something that you will want to keep for 2 years. Don't go into McDonald's just because you need a paycheck. Go somewhere where you can last for 2 years, because the bank want to see 2 years on your job before they start lending money to you. So if you going from McDonald's to Target to Walmart to a factory back to Target, like that's not looking good on your W-2s. So just that's one thing I want to stress. Like when they getting out of prison, keep one job for 2 years. If you like it or if you don't like it, just keep it. So after the 2 years, you can apply to get a mortgage. You can apply to get a personal loan and build your business or start your real estate portfolio or whatever it may be.
That's awesome. So help me understand. You said you bought your first duplex just outside of your transition home. And how did you get the loan for that with 10? I mean, of course, you bought your phone, things are probably down to 7 or 8 or 9. How did you leverage that amount when you didn't have that record?
I love that question right there. And that's what everybody say. It was 5 months after I got out of prison that I bought this duplex. 5 months. How did I do it? It was because I read I read books. I learned new things. The way that I got this is called a lease with an option to purchase.
Awesome. Love it.
So what that means is I essentially just took control of it. He gave me 3 years to come up with the money, but I controlled it for the 3 years, right? So I'm making the
Sublease
money
money.
from the tenant. Yeah, I'm making the money from the tenant. I'm living in it for almost $300, right? So over that 3 years, now I got time to build my credit, save some money, do the repairs if need be. So that's what a lease with an option to purchase is. They don't check your credit, they don't check your work history. It's just a seller trying to sell a building. And I tell people, if you want to find one, the best place to find one is for sale by owner. If you see a sign in the yard that says for sale by owner, ask them simply, will you finance it? Will you carry the mortgage? And that's the way that you can get your property without having to go through all of the hoops that the banks require.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming you already knew how to run the numbers on a property before getting into it.
Yeah, man. In prison, like you just got a lot of time on your hands. So only thing I used to do is just find scenarios, find deals. Like you'll get the local newspaper and look in there, find a deal, see it, analyze it, see if it's worth it. Look in the stock market paper, just analyze it. So I did that for so long, wrote 20 business plans. So when it was time to write a business plan and go into the bank, I did it in one day. I didn't need to, take a course or learn from somebody. I just simply wrote it up, walked in the bank, gave it to them with all the supporting document, and they gave me the money. And with the money, I used that to buy 11 unit, an 11 unit portfolio.
That is awesome.
Hmm
11. So how many doors do you have now?
I got 14 now.
That
After
is
three
awesome.
3 years, I got 14 doors.
In 3 years, 14 doors. That's
Hmm
about 4 doors a year, more than 4 doors a year.
Well,
That's super, man. I know a lot of people, to be honest, including myself, even though I'm personally studying about real estate, I was fearful about taking the action for a long time.
yeah,
And you just opened up a lot of things for myself as in terms of thought as well.
yeah. Yeah,
So
man. I encourage people like don't be scared, just go in there and do it because you're gonna lose money. You're gonna make money. Just make more than you lose, and you're gonna be all right. But yeah, I took some losses too. I took some losses. I lost like $8,000 a couple months ago
how
just
did you
because
do?
I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh wow. So
Hmm
how did you recoup that?
Um,
Let's talk about the mistake first. What did you make
ooh,
the mistake?
okay, so on my third, I bought the duplex first. I bought the single family second. And with the single family, it had equity. So I pulled the equity out of the house and I had about $8,000, $10,000 in cash. So I was like, oh, I'm about to go buy another one, pull the equity out and do it again. It doesn't work like that. I thought it did, but what happened was I bought a fixer upper. So this one that I bought, it just needed minor stuff, floors, kitchen, $10,000 worth of work. But the other one that I bought, it needed furnace, roof, plumbing, siding, floors. It needed to be gutted and redid, probably 40, $50,000 worth of work. So I took that $8,000 and put a down payment to buy the third house. And I walked into the bank like, "Hey, can I get a loan to fix this house up? It's gonna be worth 70,000." And they said no, because the house needs to be livable before we can loan on it, right?
Mhm.
So a hard money lender can loan on something like that, or a private, your friends and family can help you, but the bank can't. And that's what I didn't know. that was the mistake I made, thinking I could just go in and get the money, but I couldn't. So I ended up talking to a hard money lender, and the one that I was in cahoots with said no, also because it just needed too much work, and the house wouldn't be worth whole lot of money. So we would all be just breaking even essentially. So he declined it too. So instead of just waiting around for me to make 50,000, I ended up selling it for I had a realtor sell it for me, and he charged me $5,000 to sell it. I sold it for 1,000 less than what I bought it for. I bought it for 15,000, sold it for 14,000. He charged me 5,000 to sell it. So it was just a nightmare. And I ended up losing and then all of the work that I put into it, I went in, I cleaned it all out. I rented the dumpsters, gutted it out, and ended up taking that $2,000 loss. So it just all added up, and I caught poison ivy in the midst of it too. So I just was like, I hate this house. So I
Oh
just got
man,
rid of it.
we can always relate to such disasters. But hey, that's how you learn.
Yeah.
So help me understand. How did you recoup that, or you didn't?
All right. So then when I sold it, I think I took away like $8,000 or $9,000 in cash. So with that $8,000 or $9,000, I just built my credit back up because I was borrowing money to do these things. So, my credit was going down and everything. So I built the credit back up. I paid off some loans and everything. And now my credit was where it needed to be. So now I went in the bank and asked for a bigger loan. So I ended up recouping it by asking for more money.
That's
Right.
awesome. Are you
So,
using all of those loans on your personal name?
That's a good question. I did, and I ended up paying off the personals, but I got a bigger loan in my personal name. But since my credit was so good for me paying it off, I went and got one for my business name too. So now I have a personal and a business. And eventually I want to get rid of the personal so my debt to income ratio can be back good. But right now it's just I just did all of this like 6 months ago. So I'm still in the process. But yeah, I took that. I went and got a business loan. And with the business loan, I went and acquired the 11 doors with that. So that's how I recouped it
That's
because
awesome.
yeah,
So you essentially used your business loan to put the down payment and use that loan to have the bigger loan from the bank
yep,
and get the 11 unit.
yep, yep. So it was a hard money lender, but he lends with a 30-year mortgage. He just charged a 9% interest, that's too high. But in my case, no other bank would give me $500,000 because I wasn't established enough. I was just getting out of, I mean, it wasn't, I couldn't go into a bank and get $500,000. So
So the hard
go
money
ahead.
lenders also ask for 20%. So
Yeah.
just to clarify, that 20% came from the business loan. So essentially you were into this house without any money out of your pocket.
So that's a good question. The hard money lender did want 20%, but the seller gave me 15% also.
Awesome.
So I only came with 5%. And my 5% was my credit card. I just swiped pulled the money off my credit card, like $5,000. The seller gave me $80,000. I got the business loan, which was $15,000. So now I had $100,000 to put down on this property. And then the seller gave me the other 400,000.
That is freaking awesome. How
Yeah,
did you make him do that, give you that $80,000?
he know the property. He knew that these is cash flowing properties.
So you actually lend on a second position. You took loan on a second position from the seller.
Yeah.
That is slick, man. That is superb.
Yeah. be like the seller, he just getting older. He don't want to deal with the tenants and things like that. So he know that the properties is cash flowing. He know that. And the rents was so low that from day one I raised them. So now he know that they gonna bring in more money. So it all worked out. Like I'm surprised too how I did that. I could It just all happened at the right time. Like the bank gave me the loan, and then he was like, "Yeah, I'll do the 80,000." It just all fell into place, and it surprised me too.
Awesome. I love it. So essentially, even though you were supposed to bring 100,000, you're essentially at what, all in at 15,000 and probably getting 80,000 back. So essentially, you're probably going to be out of this, all out of your personal money in what, a year and a half?
You mean before I make my cash flow back?
Yes.
Essentially, I don't look at it. Yeah, it'll be about a year. Every year, I make about $20,000 on this property on that deal. But yeah, but remember, I used a credit card and a loan, a business loan, so I don't have to pay it back right now. So I'm gonna just make some money and then do it again. Like I'm gonna keep leveraging it until I can't no more, because I feel like that's the only way to get ahead. And I don't want to over leverage myself. So I'm gonna keep some reserves just so I can sleep at night. But yeah, man.
Are you self-managing these, or you have property managers?
Yeah, I'm self-managing them. Luckily they all in a 20-mile radius. They like 9 of them is on the same block.
So you picked up pretty much a portfolio.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So in terms of your future expansion plans, what are your future expansion plans?
My future expansion is the halfway house. I want to be able to present these guys with this information that I learned, but give them a place to live also. So they'll come in, they'll live with me, maybe do maintenance on all of my properties for like a job, and then I'll teach them the steps that I took to get into real estate.
That's awesome.
So that's my big goal. I want to be I'm the face of real estate for all of the inmates.
That's awesome. And you're doing all of these awesome stuff in a small city in Illinois? Or
yeah. It's in Illinois and Iowa. So it's right on the border. It's called the Quad Cities. So it's 4 cities in one, but the properties are in 2 of the cities.
That is awesome. In terms of when you said you were trying to teach inmates getting normal into it, are you starting some sort of nonprofits or foundations to help them out by chance?
Yes, my nonprofit, I already have it formed. It's a 501c3. It's called Second Chance Opportunities.
That's awesome.
My business is called Second Chance. So Second Chance own all the properties. Second Chance Opportunities is the nonprofit that's about to help house these guys and actually teach them, educate them.
That's awesome. So pretty much, if you wanted, you could literally not only be tax-free from your properties, but also tax-free from your job, because you can actually contribute up to 60% for 501c3 if you're doing cash. That is awesome, man.
Yeah.
In terms of who have all the viewers, how can they support you?
The viewers, they can support by donating the book. That's the easiest way. Like let's get this book into the prisons. Let's get some of this information to the inmates that's about to come home, because if they can see somebody that look like them, talk like them, come from where they from, if they can see that, well, then they can have something to shoot for. But right now, we don't see us, people that look like me, that's owning real estate, that's doing something positive. There's no positive black male role models out here. So they don't see that. But if somebody want to donate 5 books, to the prison of their choice, that'll help tremendously. Just to
Uh,
get the information to them, and then I can do the rest.
is there a link that they can do it, or they can reach out to you and do that?
Well, you can reach out to me, or you can go on Amazon and buy them. Like everybody knows somebody in prison. Just send them
Okay,
the book. Send them the book from Amazon, and just get that word out there.
that's awesome. I will definitely make sure to put that out. Um, any last thoughts that would encourage the youth, especially the youth, because the way you are raising your son is significantly different than how we see our society is raising, unfortunately. We
Yeah.
are seeing students and children raising up so soft, or getting emotional, or getting frustrated, getting emotional too fast, getting frustrated too fast as well.
Yeah.
How would you suggest them to get back focus, or start doing positive things in life?
Have a goal. If they have a goal, if they have something that they're shooting for every day, well, then they can do anything. Because we can do anything we want to do. The thing is, we don't know what we want to do. So have a goal, have a focused goal, focus on one thing, shoot for it every day. Every day, shoot for it. And make sure that goal is helping other people. My goal have to be the face of real estate for all of us is it's not only serving me, it's serving multiple people. The things I'm teaching is serving multiple people. So my goal is so big that I have to focus every day on it,
Awesome.
and it's helping.
So pretty much have a goal that's beyond yourself.
Beyond yourself, so big that it scare you. It's
Absolutely.
scary. It's scary for me to think about all of the inmates that's about to be seeing me as the face of real estate. That's kind of scary. It's scary for me to be like, all of these inmates about to come and live in my property. That's scary because anything can go wrong, and I know who I'm dealing with. But it needs to be done. You got to be the change you want to see.
Absolutely. And how do you keep yourself motivated every day as you're grinding yourself through that?
My son, my kids, man, like they see, like when I was in prison, they saw me as that, right? That's all they knew. They knew their dad sold drugs, went to prison, now he in jail. But now when they see me in front of 50 people speaking positive things, they like, dang, that's my dad. That ain't the dude that sell drugs, that be having guns and stuff. That's not him. So I want, like, my motivation is my kids seeing me, my family seeing me become something different, because they need to see a change so that they can eventually change and be better people and things like that. Help people.
Awesome. So pretty much settling with a family that who can help you with what you're doing, supportive family.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Any last words or anything that we could help you out, add value to your business?
Just I tell everybody just to stay focused and reach for your dreams, man. They ain't too far. Like, if I like, just think about this. Back in the day, they used to be like, nobody will land on the moon. Now we landing on the moon and stuff like that. It's not that far now. Now we thinking about Mars and all the stars and stuff. So your dreams ain't too far. So just shoot for them.
Awesome. Donald, I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy. I'm probably not going to extend it too much, but I cannot thank you enough. I hope with this beginning, we can spread this word to all of the inmates as much as we can, and possibly even contribute to yourself as well. Maybe we can connect. Hopefully, this video, we can reach out to people in the United States, across the globe, that might be interested in investing with you and in you, so that we can have a better society in life. Because I know that, unfortunately, we have been systematically pushed into a situation, as you just mentioned, put into a fishbowl.
Yeah.
And it's great that we're coming out of that system as a society, but we need to incorporate our big fishes in the society and understand that every single one of us have the potential to be a big fish,
Yeah, man.
just like you already are in the real estate space. Awesome, man. Thank you very much, Donald. It was
All right.
really a pleasure talking to you.
You
have
too,
a
man.
wonderful rest of the day.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
All right.